What truly matters is not which party controls our government, but whether our government is controlled by the people.
Donald Trump takes on the media, the Marxists, the tyrants, the rhinos, the swamp, and the bullshit each and every single day, and he does it without an earpiece, a teleprompter, or a mob.
Trump must win. He's real. He will bring back the people's trust. These leftists are not for the American people. It's the biggest cover-up ever.
This is our Constitution. Men and women have gone to war to defend this document. Men and women have died to defend this document. It is the finest governing document ever created and established by mankind. Do you want to know why? Because it protects the individual from centralized government. It protects us from the mob, and it protects us from the monarchy.
The left are deceitful and have lied to the American people. They have stripped down her mighty powers for their own ego of power to rule the nation's economy.
Right now, the mob has a voice in the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party wants to destroy this country. That's why it intends to attack the Supreme Court.
I have no illusions that the road ahead of me will be easy, either for the short term or the long haul.
The Supreme Court's one of our three branches. The Democrat Party is saying, we don't give a damn. If that branch doesn't bow to our will, we're going to destroy it.
We do not win if we sit back and we wait for November. We do not win if we rely on an election.
Hiding behind a virus, and he won't tell us if he'll defend the Constitution of the United States?
They'll know my opinion of court packing when the election is over. Now look, I know it's a great question, y'all, and I don't blame you for asking it.
Because he's concerned that'll be a headline. It'll be a headline. God forbid if he's sworn and he puts his hand on this document and he says he's going to uphold the Constitution.
Let us ask God to rid this horror. And let us hold a candle on this land of the free and bring her back to the place she once stood proud. She is God's liberty. She is God's love. She is freedom, dignity.
We take no prisoners because we have too much at stake, and the silent majority is ready to start fighting back.
Sir, do you want to talk about the election? At a grocery store parking lot in Staten Island, I went looking for the kind of information you don't get from polls.
You sure you want to hear what I got to say?
I do want to hear what you got to say. A sense of not only what voters believe, but why. How important is the election?
Very important.
Why?
Because we can't have Biden. You sure you want me to say this on camera?
Yeah, go ahead. Why do you say everything?
We can't have Biden as president.
Of course it's important. I'm an American. I'm free. And I want to stay free. Believe me. There's no way I'd vote for Biden.
There was a pretty clear consensus in this Republican pocket of liberal New York City, where 57% of the 2016 vote went for Donald Trump. But it went beyond the belief that Trump was the better candidate. Voters here told me that Joe Biden wasn't really a candidate at all.
Oh, he's a puppet. He's a puppet.
He's their little puppet. He's just a puppet.
Do a quick show of hands, if you will. Who in this group, raise your hand if you thought Joe Biden won the debate? One person, okay.
So why should people who feel that they are better off today under the Trump administration vote for you?
Well, if they think that, they probably shouldn't. I'm here tonight as a determined American who loves our country. And my message to you is very clear. Wake up, America.
Look, we all know the press leans so far left they can see up their own noses.
There is no substitute for American leadership and exceptionalism. America should not fear our enemies.
Tick, 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 tick. 4 hours later, boom, boom. You're stressing me out.
We should clearly define our enemies, face them head on.
All right, tonight we start with proof the deep state is real in America and that you, the American people, see what is really going on.
And then defeat those that seek to threaten our country and our way of life.
It's about a deep state trying to drag a crook across the presidential finish line.
It's not a conflict of interest. There's been no indication of any conflict of interest from Ukraine or anywhere else. Period. I'm not gonna respond to that. Let's focus on the problem. Focus on this man, what he's doing, that no president has ever done. No president.
But I just want to thank most particularly you, because you people come out and you cheer and you love your country and you get it. You're way, way ahead of many, many people in this country. But the country is getting it. The country is seeing something now. Thank you. I love you too. Thank you.
We stand together as proud patriots who deeply love our country and believe in the principles of freedom, democracy, and liberty.
Obama was briefed by John Brennan himself about Hillary Clinton's plot with a capital P, to tie the Trump campaign with Russia in a very nefarious way. So these documents were declassified yesterday, and the president has rightfully shown and exhibited these documents as much as he could to highlight one very important factor, and that is the Obama administration, along with Joe Biden, have been in deep collusion with the so-called deep state that President Trump has been railing against.
It was a witch hunt. There was never a proper predicate for launching the investigation. And you know how we know that, Ainsley? They told us. The Obama-Biden intelligence community told us.
And oh, by the way, blown off what the then Commander-in-Chief, the President Obama, told us to do, which was to assemble all the reporting that we had available to us, and put it in one report that the President could pass on to the Congress and to the next administration. And while we're at it, declassify as much as we possibly could to make it public, and that's what we did. It's kind of disconcerting now to be investigated for having done our duty and done what we were told to do by the president.
But now it is up to us, and you cannot sit this election out.
What concerns you? What keeps you up at night?
My greatest concern that the most destabilizing force in the world today is the United States of America. And we appear to be erratic.
What do you think? I can straighten it out fast. Should we just go in? No, sir. Let it simmer for a little while. Let people see what radical left Democrats will do to our country. The Obama campaign spied on our campaign, and they've been caught, all right? And now let's see what happens to them.
I stand with you as a citizen, a veteran, a patriot, but more important, as an American, to tell you that the destructive pattern of putting the interests of other nations ahead of our own will end when Donald Trump is president.
And so here's the thing, friends. We need to get very serious about it. We need to have a serious conversation about it. Here at The Remnant, we've been saying since March, since the outset of this thing, that it's not the virus that we're questioning. I don't want to get the virus. I know you don't. I know some of you have lost loved ones or friends or whatever from the virus. I've known quite a few folks now who've gotten it. I don't know anyone who died. Everyone who I know, thanks be to God, has recovered. But it was never the virus that's the problem. It's the political exploitation of the pandemic, the COVID pandemic, that really, really must give all of us now serious cause for concern about the future. They're not playing games here. This isn't going anywhere. This isn't going away. And don't take my word for it. I wouldn't expect you to do that anyway.
We've all heard of Davos and the World Economic Forum. That's that gabfest that takes place every January in the beautiful Swiss town of Davos. And apart from all the lovey pop stars and movie stars who jet in on their private Learjets, all sorts of major corporations and governments, including ours, send delegates to this flash red carpet economic event every year.
Let's talk about Davos, Switzerland. Here's where the leaders of the world are admitting exactly what I'm saying, that this is a Trojan horse. Now in Davos, they call it the Great Reset. And it's scheduled now to kick off in January 2021. And if you want to know what's really going on here, if you want to know why you're wearing that dehumanizing face mask, even in your car, look to Davos.
Now is the historical moment, the time, not only to fight severe virus, but to shape the system.
We have a unique but rapidly shrinking window of opportunity to learn lessons and reset ourselves on a more sustainable path.
What is it that would make it so that history would look at this crisis as the great opportunity for reset?
The Great Reset is a welcome recognition that this human tragedy must be a wake-up call.
This transformation essentially means that the whole way that we do business, that we live, and that we have grown accustomed to in the industrial age, will have to be changed. We will have to leave that behind us in the next 30 years to go.
This COVID thing is their golden opportunity. And they certainly don't want Trump or anyone else to fix the problem, certainly not prematurely.
We're waiting. We're waiting for you to get your act together and understand the depth of this crisis, the breadth of this crisis, and do something real.
Scott, it's noon on the East Coast. Here's the news from CNBC. The President and First Lady are positive for COVID-19, now in quarantine at the White House.
In the middle of the night, Trump confirmed the test results by tweeting, "Tonight, the First Lady and I tested positive for COVID-19. We will begin our quarantine and recovery process immediately. We will get through this together."
Today, he feels well. He's been up and around. Our plan for today is to have him to eat and drink, be up out of bed as much as possible, to be mobile. And if he continues to look and feel as well as he does today, our hope is that we can plan for a discharge as early as tomorrow.
Because, see, the problem is these frontline doctors in the white coats, if they're right, and COVID can be cured without 7 billion doses of Bill Gates' vaccine, well, the Great Reset that they keep talking about in Davos, Switzerland, the Great Reset will be dead on arrival.
This is him getting off as he walks up those stairs. So, Sanjay, keep going.
Doctors look at this and they say, well, what's going on inside of him? What's the illness all about? And we know he has an infection with this coronavirus. We know that infection, that coronavirus can be very contagious, which is why people, take great pains to protect themselves in the hospital. But this is obviously sending a very different,
takes it off,
an incorrect message.
And you see him here, he takes it off and he's getting ready for his pictures. The flags flank him. Right, Caitlin, this is what he did. This is the moment. This is what he produced it for. He wants the image to be, I'm strong. This virus is nothing. His tweet today, feeling better than I did 20 years ago. Don't be afraid of COVID. Don't let it dominate your life.
But you saw him tonight. Highly contagious. He has to be. It is the science of it. I know he was in the hospital. I know he had 24-hour care. I know they gave him 2 experimental treatments. But it was no big deal.
This is a Mussolini moment. Donald Trump, who looks like he has makeup on, which means somebody had to get close enough to make up his face with his favorite orange patina.
I just left Walter Reed Medical Center, and it's really something very special. The doctors, the nurses, the first responders, and I learned so much about coronavirus. And one thing that's for certain, don't let it dominate you. Don't be afraid of it. You're going to beat it. We have the best medical equipment. We have the best medicines, all developed recently. And you're going to beat it. I didn't feel so good And 2 days ago, I could have left 2 days ago. 2 days ago, I felt great, like better than I have in a long time. I said just recently, better than 20 years ago.
Because he's clearly shooting an advertisement, a video, a propaganda piece, whatever it is he's doing right now. The first thing he did was to take off his mask.
And the Great Reset, they need President Joe the Catholic Biden to hand us, the United States, over to them if he wins this election. This is why they're trying so hard to take Donald Trump down.
I hold rallies, and I tell you to ignore masks, and I rip mine off as I vanquish the virus because I am a leader. Fear not, COVID. What a bunch of bullshit.
The World Economic Forum announced a couple of days ago that Davos in January has been postponed. Let's face it, it's never a good look when you're banging on about global warming and it's snowing outside.
So what's this all about? I think you know. I think we all sort of in our hearts, we kind of realize what's going on here. This is not about COVID anymore. This is about a reset of everything. And the United States of America is in the way right now of all of it. So they are destabilizing our entire country. The Great Reset, then, politically, economically, it wants to implement massive socialist programs and, of course, global climate change along the lines of the Green New Deal. The regulation is going to be unbelievable.
It's a hardcore, leftist, eco-horror show replete with quasi-fascism. I spoke a couple of weeks ago here about the disturbing trend among many of the world's left-wing elites to increasingly conflate COVID-19 with climate change, with many going so far as to suggest that all the measures applied to the coronavirus, the lockdowns, the destruction of businesses, the suppression of dissent, curfews, strong-arm police tactics, should become the new normal.
And no country will be allowed to opt out of this. Why? Well, if an individual country opts out of the Great Reset, they're going to be endangering the whole world community, the whole world, through future pandemics that will be caused by climate change, Al Gore says, and overpopulation, says Bill Gates. You see how it works?
The what? Precisely. It sounds kind of crazy enough, but it is a program designed to strip us of all our fundamental democratic rights in favor of a new form of society as dictated by the elites.
This is what we're facing in November. And if you think the Catholic Church is going to protect you from what's coming from this globalist takeover nightmare, think again.
We will now start a quite high number of task forces to look at all the different issues, and we will present all those ideas to the people assembled in Davos. But at the same time, we will make Davos very different, very open, to ensure that we do not fall back to old recipes, but that we really look at forward-oriented solutions.
Now, put aside for the moment that bloke looks like he's auditioning for the head of Smersh in the next James Bond movie. He is, in fact, Klaus Schwab, the founder and head of the World Economic Forum. He is a total whack job, in my opinion, and I'll get into that in a second. He's a big fan of drones, algorithms, and the Chinese Communist Party, and he believes there's a fourth industrial revolution underway that is changing what it means to be human. And he peddles this sicko fantasy that humans and machines will somehow merge in his green utopia. Bonkers, like I said, but this lunatic has some very, very powerful friends determined to push the Great Reset button along with him.
Everyone's in on the Great Reset. Well, almost everyone.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
There's one guy who's got the power to do something to stop it, and you know exactly where I'm going. And they made a mistake. They tried to get Trump on their side, so they invited Donald Trump to Davos, I think a couple of times. But in January, when Donald Trump, I think, really began to see the beast that he was up against, he went to Davos, to the World Economic Forum, and he stuck a mega finger in their eye.
We're committed to conserving the majesty of God's creation and the natural beauty of our world. But to embrace the possibilities of tomorrow, we must reject the perennial prophets of doom and their predictions of the apocalypse. These alarmists always demand the same thing: absolute power to dominate, transform, and control every aspect of our lives. We will never let radical socialists destroy our economy, wreck our country.
2 days after Donald Trump gave that speech, the 89-year-old leftist weirdo billionaire George Soros made an emergency intervention where, at Davos, once again, warning that the U.S. 2020 election will determine the, quote, fate of the whole world. For the Vatican, for Pope Francis, and for his friends at the UN, Donald Trump is the problem, obviously, friends.
Clearly, I consider the Trump administration a danger to the world, but I regard it as a purely temporary phenomenon that will disappear in 2020.
Do you get it? Do you see why there's so much hate for Trump? Because with all of his faults, again, he's the capitalist. He's not the globalist. He never will be one of them. Which is why he pulled the United States out of the Paris Climate Agreement. Donald Trump pulled the United States out of the World Health Organization. That's Bill Gates and company. And now he's threatening to pull the United States out of the World Trade Organization. People say, yeah, well, Donald Trump got married twice. He's a bad guy. Really? He's right in the face of the demons on this, friends. Nobody ever said he was a saint. He's knocking the sacred cows of the United Nations down all over the world right now.
The General Assembly routinely votes 185 against the United States on almost everything right now.
And you remember, speaking of the United Nations, in November of 2019, again, right before COVID landed, Trump went to the UN, on the floor of the General Assembly, and he declared war on globalism.
Wise leaders always put the good of their own people and their own country first. The future does not belong to globalists. The future belongs to patriots.
And shortly after the speech at the UN, Donald Trump delivered, what do you think happened? The coronavirus was unleashed on the world, and Trump's booming U.S. economy went on life support. Do you think that was an accident? So when they tell you, when they tell all of us to stay home, wear your mask so grandma doesn't get sick, please understand what's really going on here. They don't care about your grandmother. You know what we do to fight back? Go to work. Go back to school. If you're healthy, take off the mask. And for heaven's sake, go back to church and pray that Trump wins in November. That's what the reset was on. That's what the Russia hoax was all about. That's what the impeachment hoax was all about. Don't you see? For 4 years, I've been trying to stop this man because if he strengthens America, if he makes it great again, if he brings the economy back again, the reset won't happen.
Today's ceremony, however, has very special meaning because today we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another or from one party to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people.
The New World Order is going to be set way back. Who knows when they're going to have another COVID opportunity like this one again, and they know it.
January 20th, 2017 will be remembered as the day the people became the rulers of this nation again.
So ask yourselves why they hate this man. These folks, these men, they hate God. They hate the unborn. They hate the traditional family. They hate you. And they hate Donald Trump. Friends, stand with America right now or fall with the New World Order in the not-so-distant future. There's no other choice.